So, Joe, I mean, you heard the man. He's going to come into spring training with a chance to make our team, which I don't think this is just, you know, smoke or hot air, is what I like. This is somebody that tore it up in the minors this year. Yes, he was a first round pick, so obviously expectations were high, but it's not like he was a top 10 pick. He wasn't a top 15 pick, but his productivity at the minor league level, and you're not keeping Carson Benge up to be the fifth or fourth outfielder, Joe. So to me, I dissect this as one of two things. And I want to know if you agree. Number one, Carson Benge could be the starting center fielder on opening day, which I don't know if Carson Benge is the long-term answer at center field, but I guess we'll see. The second being, and I know it's a difficult contract to move, but there's a non-zero chance that the Mets move Brandon Nimmo in some kind of deal that would take a lot of creativity and a lot of money paid down, that Carson Benge is the opening day left fielder. What did you think of this?
I think this was the quote that stood out the most for me. It was, we'll get into some other things, and some was GM speak. The most important part here was David Stearns was not asked about Carson Benge. The question was, who's your center fielder? And he's like, yeah, we have Tyrone Taylor. We know he plays great defense out there, and we all know what Tyrone Taylor is. He's a fourth outfielder that on any given day could play and get you a couple of hits, but largely you want him coming off the bench for mainly defense and speed. He goes, and Carson Benge is going to come to spring training with a chance to make the team. Unprovoked, the most certainty that I've ever heard David Stearns talk about a prospect.
Right.
If you want to go back to July of 2025, he wouldn't commit to Nolan McLean coming up to the major leagues at all. And he came up a couple weeks later and got fifth place rookie of the year votes despite making 8 starts.
Oh my God.
Like, this is the most firm I've heard David Stearns. So I'm taking it as Carson Benge has a real opportunity to break camp with the team. And when I talked to people in the Mets organization in, August and September, I was told kind of a lot of the things that we have talked about on this show. 2026 is the plan. It might be in the early part, maybe by Memorial Day, something like that. But maybe David Stearns has learned a little bit of a lesson. If you remember from his post-season press conference, one of the things he said was, I have to be more aggressive. And we thought about that as just purely the pitching prospects. But it might be promoting prospects more aggressively, kind of in line with what other teams in baseball are doing now.
Absolutely, Joe. Things change, and the really good executives evolve over time. And David Stearns comes from Milwaukee, where he did a lot of amazing things. But I also think the sense of urgency when he was there might have been a little different than what it can be like in New York. Now, Milwaukee, unfortunately for them, have underachieved in so many recent postseasons that I'm not going to act like there's no urgency there anymore. But it's been a couple years now, and I think that we're seeing a lot of guys infuse life into a team. We saw it with the pitching last year. It's not like I'm saying I hope that's us. That was the Mets, where everybody's sitting there and going, and he knows it. A couple weeks earlier, and say you got 2 more wins because of that, well, then you would have been in the playoffs. So it's why every game, even though as ridiculous as it is to say over such a long season, matters so much. Obviously, I was a fan of this as well, like you, Joe, where it's Carson Benge now goes, all these guys see all this stuff, of course. Yeah. Carson Benge sees that and goes, I'm going to tear the cover off the ball in spring training to the best of my effort. And if I do that, I know that I'm going to get to play.